final guest this evening is my amazing proud sponsor, who is genuinely one of the loveliest people, but was also an accidental RecTech founder, I believe. I think I read that on your profile. Please welcome up here Darren Westall, who's the co-founder of Paiger. Well,
yeah, it's so much more comfortable. Just I
know. When I have to say, when I came into the school chairs, I thought, I'm so glad I'm not sat on those. Are they all right? If you need to stand up, guys, you know, you feel free to get a little bit of energy going.
I've got a numb bum. I don't know anyone.
Numb bum. And for those who are not familiar, although obviously we have Revit very kindly shared with us today, tell us a little bit about your journey, because you do say you're accidental as a RecTech founder.
Accidental getting into tech, really. So, I'm Darren. I've been in the recruitment industry for 17 years. Never a recruiter. I've always been in tech. But I ironically failed IT at college, so work that one out. So I went for a job at a company called Broadbean, you've probably heard of. Phone's off, come on. I'm joking. My phone's been going on. So, I went for an interview at Broadbean, and I was lucky enough that the CTO was off that day, so I actually didn't have a technical test because I would have failed it. But they said, you sound like a nice guy, so we'll give you a job, which is great, £13,000 a year. That was interesting. Great company, I appreciate it if they do watch this recording. But I was there for 10 years. I went home, got some books into Perl and started programming. I went way up from that junior developer position all the way to their CTO, and that was at the age of 28. So I actually fell into tech, but fell in love with it as well, and fell in love with the recruitment industry at the same time. So when I got that job, literally 28 years old, got the top job, 60 people I think reported into me, and I was bloody miserable. After 1 week, I was like, do you know what? This isn't actually what I want. So I went home.
Why is that? Were you not actually doing the job anymore? It was more a leadership role? Like, what do you mean?
It was more that I had hit the goal that I set, and I didn't have another one.
Wow.
And it was like, why am I going to work now? I didn't actually have a purpose left. So it was pretty much instant. Instantly I was like, this is weird, I feel really empty. Everyone around me's congratulating me, it's fantastic. I had more money than I ever had. Right? Good shopping Waitrose, it was great.
That's really upsetting, isn't it?
But I felt empty, so I went home and said to the wife that I'm going to quit. And she looked at me like, you're absolutely crazy. But I did, and that was 6.5 years ago, where I came with me on the journey. I still remember this. I said to him, come on, let's do this.
How did you two meet?
At Broadbean. I thought you were
going to say Bumble then.
Bumble. No. Yeah, I remember it very well. I remember sitting there once we'd actually quit, and he turned around to me and said, so, what does it do? I said, you just quit your job, what do you mean, what does it do? And he's like, no, I trust you, no, it's going to work, so come on, what does it do? That's how we got started.
Wow, so that was how many years ago?
6.5 years, yeah.
And your mission is to make recruiters, I've had to write it down so I remember, is to make us recruiters smarter and faster by having better conversations. So how can we as recruiters have better conversations, do you think? Because at the moment there's so much narrative on LinkedIn, obviously around AI, and around people using AI to write their stuff, send their messages, automate their processes. So what's your starting point from that?
Yeah, I mean, to look forward, we have to look back, right? So when we first started at Broadbean, I think people posted to 8-10 job boards. That was the big thing. That's how we're going to go to market. When I left after 10 years, it was probably 3 or 4, and one of those was their own website. So actually, the decline of the job boards is interesting. So what we're seeing right now is a new wave of tech, right? A new wave of AI. And it's ironic me sitting here as a AI tech company saying this, right? But we are seeing a new wave that's going to make everybody more efficient. It's going to automate a lot of the tasks that you guys do on a day-to-day basis, and we're one of those. But what that's going to lead to is actually more people doing it, which is going to be great for a short period of time. And when I say short, I mean years. I'm counting it in years. But if you fast forward 5 years and everybody's got the same processes, everything's been automated, what's left? What's left is you and your conversations and your community, the things that you're doing. So, I mean, I think that recruitment used to be based on how much headcount you have. How many recruiters do you have? Oh, you must be really successful. 200 recruiters. Actually, now I think it's going to be what community do you run? What niche are you in? How many people do you know? What's your network like? I really think that's going to be the big thing, fast forward 5 years. And what we always see is that the technology ends up in-house, right? In-house recruiters then pick it up. The Broadbean's revenue now, I think, I'm going to guess it's around 80% is now in-house recruitment rather than staffing. That's going to happen more and more. All of the technology you use, as people leave the staffing world, they take it with them in-house. So actually that won't be your USP anymore, right? Right now it is, and you've got to ride that wave. It's going to be a really fun wave for like 5 years. But don't forget that what's at the heart of a recruitment business is your community. Generalist recruitment for me is going to die, so if anyone's generalist. And I think your niche is what's going to be the thing that really, really thrives. We spoke about this being a really saturated market at the start. I actually think if you fast forward 10 years, that won't be the case. There'll be far less recruitment agencies. But what there will be is bloody good ones that are left, and they'll be the ones that we really want to work with.
I read I don't know if anybody here does still read The Recruiter, because I do, old school, with a cup of tea. And it's something like 35% of recruitment consultants in the UK have actually left the industry this year. And somebody had messaged me and said, you read it?
No.
Did you write it? Are you one of them? And somebody, quite prolific, messaged me. I don't know if you'd appreciate me saying he's not here tonight. Is this true? And I said, well, straw poll, this was actually based on actual data. And I said, that feels about right. And he said, why do you think that is? And I said, oh my God, this is on Saturday morning, let me just put my head into it. And I said, all the things that you're talking about, the markets have been saturated, recruiters are exhausted, and ultimately, the job is very different to the job that maybe they started 3 years ago in COVID, or 2 years ago in the boom market. And I actually think, and I'm going to be really contrary as somebody that is a huge ambassador for our amazing industry, I actually think it needs to happen. I think we are at a point and a precipice where, because we haven't had a barrier to entry, and I take responsibility as a rector, I don't mean me personally, but as a subsector, that because there's no barrier to entry, just anybody will do, and it's not true. And that's not being sort of the opposite to diversity. It's about saying the people that come on board now or are in our industry now, what you've said there is actually really interesting, because what you're ultimately saying is that the human will still control what happens.
Yeah, and it will be harder to enter the market because you're going to build up your networks over years and years of experience. Without that, you won't be able to enter the market because employers will be able to send mass emails to candidates, right? They will have all of those things. It'll be really easy for them to do, but it's hard to find ones they want. So that's when they actually come to you, and that retain thing will be an easy conversation at that point because they won't have a choice. So I really do see the market shifting quite heavily within the space of a decade. I do think the next few years are going to be really, really fun, and we'll all make a lot of money during it as well, which will be really cool. But prepare yourself for when that actually flips again, because there's always a flip, always changes.
I agree with you on the flip. Is anyone experiencing this right now in terms of, creating their processes? Is anyone going through an AI process at the moment? I'm just interested to see if anyone's got.
No, but I'm speaking to more and more in-house teams, right? That the AI rec tech space is bombarding with some incredibly innovative stuff. And the sell is to replace transactional recruitment agency work. So that's kind of, ties in with what you've said. Our USP is going to be our community.
Yeah, and we've all got it now where you put a job onto LinkedIn, but it could be anything, right? It could be any job board. And the biggest frustration I hear is that we get so many bad applicants, right? So what's going to happen is that people will start embracing that on the TA side. They will then bring in tech to combat it, right? Yeah. Because also applicants have now got AI to apply to thousands of jobs, and that's going to get worse. And they're going to actually get the hump of it. They're going to go, do you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I want a partner to actually handle this for me. So we're going to see the rise of AI, and it will stay. But I strongly believe that the thing that will always stay is the fact that you should be really, really niche and build your community, and that's what's going to keep you valuable forever.
Say it. Your network is your net worth. Sorry.
It is, and LinkedIn is one of the places to build it, but I'd also think around diversifying away from just LinkedIn as well.
Oh, go on, expand on that.
Well, if you think about it, what we're doing tonight is what makes this industry brilliant. So if you've got a database, right? We've all heard of search your database first. Actually think of your database as your community now, and I'd be nurturing that quite heavily. You're going to have touch points on LinkedIn, you're going to have touch points on the phone meetings. But I would make a point of saying, I want to be the one that's going to have a quarterly meetup like this. One of the best things we run is a community called Lonely Marketers. The recruitment industry's normally got a single marketer in the business, and we run meetups for them. Like that for us is great. That's our community, that's what's going to really help us drive the business forward. That's more valuable to me than my CRM.
I totally agree with you. I mean, I actually shared a post yesterday about communities, like the biggest thing that's come out, I think, out of COVID. From it's a word that we've all used, we all live in a community, but actually we all kind of forgot as human beings what that was. And I think it's about connecting, and it does get overused though, doesn't it? And I think that's where people have to flip their mindset again, that it's not just a database. When you say community, what do you mean by that? Because I know what I mean by that.
What I mean by, if I think about TNM, the Lonely Marketers, it's somewhere that I've got 3 screens on my desk, and one of those screens is the WhatsApp group, and it's there all day, every day. And I'm just there because I want to add value to them. And I want to know what's going on in the market, and that's the best way to do it. So for me, it's about adding value without the expectation of anything back. But we all know that inevitably what goes around comes around. So if you're going to form a community, don't go into it with a short-term view. We've been in the Lonely Marketers now for 2 years. We eventually acquired it, just because the owner went back into in-house marketing. So go into it without any expectation in the short term, have a real long-term view. And if you don't have a community now, now's the time to start on, because that's going to be what keeps you actually, again, I realise I'm an AI tech founder, right, I get it. But that's what's going to keep you going in 5 years.
And to future-proof us, which ultimately is why we're all here. We all want to ensure that we have still got businesses in 5 years' time, and that we're evolving, and that we're still doing all the right things, still making sure we're, being kind people and doing the right initiatives, and it not just being buzzwords and tick boxes, but actually still being successful as recruiters. I have to say, I do think that, there's an amazing book, and I can't remember the name of it, and it's all about creating communities, and I will share it actually. I'll stick it on my LinkedIn at some point in the next few days, and I'll make sure you all see it. Because it's about, I think that point is so important. You don't have any expectation back. It's not saying, if I create a community, we'll then get to a point where everybody pays £5 to be part of that community, and then we'll make money off it. That's not why we're doing it.
Yeah, I've got 2 things running in parallel right now. I'd be going through my business and going, what tasks can be automated? And put together a shopping list. Don't get shiny toy syndrome. I always say this, that you don't walk into Tesco's without having a shopping list or being hungry, right? So don't go out to market looking for technology without knowing what you're trying to solve. So the first thing to do is go through your business and say, right, what can I automate? And the speed at which you do that will dictate the speed at which you ride this next wave. So I'd prioritise that, but alongside that, think actually the wave will crash. We're going to make a lot of money in a short amount of time, but there will be something that changes. So alongside that, I need to think what's the longer term, and the longer term play for me is community.
Yeah, I love that. Does anybody have any questions for Darren?
Hello.
Hello, mate. I'm not a
Hi,
recruiter.
Bobby.
Hello.
I didn't see you come in. You snuck in at the back,
stealthy.
sneaky devil.
So I'll probably ask this on behalf of some recruitment businesses that are out there. So how do you go about starting that process of identifying what are the things that I definitely want to automate, what are the things that I might want to automate in the future, and what kind of things don't I need to automate?
Great question, that Bobby.
So the last one's really simple. Anything that involves a human conversation, do not try to automate it. If it's a phone call, if it's a meeting, the worst thing you could do is go out there and look at something like an AI SDR tool, right? That's going to make your sales calls for you. Don't do that, because that's what makes you brilliant. So don't try to automate anything that's human, or in the long term that will kill you. It might help you in the short term, you make some quick money. In the long term, it will kill you. In terms of what you prioritise first, is look at all the inefficiencies. What's taking you most time? We just launched the formatting of the CVs, right? That could be a really quick thing. Some people outsource that. Some people got one person there that's doing it all day. That person doing it all day has got aspirations to actually do some real marketing, right? So look at your business and go, what's the thing that people are taking their time on that actually isn't adding too much value to the candidate or the client experience? And that's what I work on first. Anything that doesn't add to those experiences, automate the head out of it.
Cool. I just wanted to add one point. So I've been working with 2 clients recently who have had that same problem with internal recruiters who have had loads of applications. they've actually set up a selection as a service as a small, nominal fee thing, and they've seen so much traction from that. So it's already happening, that whole selection as a service thing that could really impact things.
Yeah, people are going to get the hump with it. Like they are. It's great that we can do these kind of things. Just use it wisely, I'm not a fan of, I've never been a fan of spray and pray, send out 1,000 emails, hope for 10 responses. That's not me. I'm a big fan of personalised outreach, getting to know people. So we build our tech with that in mind. We talk a lot about the why. There's a lot of things that people come to me about, could you build this? And the answer is, yeah, I could, but I'm not. I really don't think it's a great way of working. So yeah, when you look at what we do, it's based on what I believe good recruitment is. And it's something I feel quite passionate about, even though I think I could make a lot more money if I just let you send out 1,000 emails, but I never will do that.
Thank God for that. Darren, you have been absolutely fantastic, and I think you've probably given quite a lot of action points to people here today. Have we got any more questions before I let Darren go? Thank you so much, and thank you for making the journey. Really